The life of a pastoralist isn't easy, and that's putting it mildly. Trying to eke out a living raising cattle while grappling with numerous challenges, whether environmental, economic, political, or social, is hard. Imagine then how much more difficult it is for those who have little control over resources or decision-making. I'm talking about women. They face a double whammy in the drylands. As we heard in previous editions, they collect water and firewood and are responsible for food and dairy production, yet they are marginalised. With limited access and control over financial and productive resources, women of Nigeria's nomadic Fulani community are raising their voices. This advert is a powerful rallying cry to women pastoralists across northern Nigeria.
Women and young girls, we want to be treated with dignity and respect, to have sources of income to look after our children and families.
And it is pastoralists who herd cattle across grazing lands who are at the core of Nigeria's food chain. In busy, bustling city meat markets in Abuja and Lagos, it can be easy to forget where your beef, goat or lamb comes from. But that would be a mistake. Welcome to Dynamic Drylands, the podcast exploring new ways of thinking about aid, development and resilience. In this special bonus edition, we focus on women, the often unsung heroes of nomadic communities, and we train our spotlight on Fulani women in northern Nigeria. The country is home to around 15 million pastoralists who produce over 80% of the country's meat. Many of them live in remote parts of the country where ongoing insurgency and conflicts keep them several days' travel away from the nearest towns.
This pastoralism is our primary source of livelihood. That is where we solve our problem, our family. I was being educated through the animals. So these animals that is usually being kept by pastoralists, it is their only source of income. My dad, he only rely on this animal. When there is problem in the family, he will sell and solve the problem. And likewise, many other pastoralism are doing.
That was Mariam Yusuf Bayero, just one of the women we've spoken with about their lives and their community. Pastoralism in Nigeria is a hot-button issue, with escalating farmer-herder clashes and an ongoing row in national politics about whether to ban open grazing altogether in some states. In all this, pastoralist women are rarely considered, even though they face a unique set of challenges. In this podcast, you'll hear about these women's lives and the impact of a special program of training, in their own words. I'm Bola Mosuro. I was a journalist with the BBC World Service for over 30 years, and in that time, I reported on a host of issues from all over the African continent, from globalization, conflict, and the demands of climate change, to emerging trends within family life and culture. I know just how diverse, inventive, and resilient Africa's people are. So what is life like for women living in remote communities in northern Nigeria? Here's Rukayatu, a researcher who comes from a pastoralist background.
My name is Rukayatu Bashir Ribadu. I'm a researcher from northeast Nigeria. I'm a pastoralist woman. My grandparents came into the city. They were educated. So we live in the city. I don't rear the cattle myself, but I still share that cultural value. As a pastoralist woman, that identity shapes everything I do. I understand the values, the rhythms, and also the struggles that pastoralist communities, especially women, face every day. If you communicate with the pastoralist women, they don't even dream much. They won't tell you that they want to buy a car, they want to own houses. All their dream is they want peace. They want food on the table. They want their children to be educated. Life for the Fulani woman is filled with hard work. They carry the weight of the entire household. They wake up early in the morning, they pray. And before they even pray, they take the responsibility of giving the man even the water. The woman bears the burden of the household, the community, raising the children, and yet they don't take a decision. But what strikes me the most is their dignity. They don't complain. They survive. Invisible and yet indispensable.
Rukayatu works for Fudeko, whose name you'll hear a lot in this episode. Fudeko, or the Fulbe Development and Cultural Organization, is a Nigerian NGO which supports pastoralist communities. They've been working with pastoralist women and girls to overcome some of the barriers they face in an innovative way.
Now I serve as a lead researcher at Fudeko in Adamawa and Borno State, where we engage directly with women and girls to document their lived realities and co-develop solutions. And in Fudeko, we use a localization approach. So the community researchers we use in collecting the data, they are also locals. We get people who are a bit educated, and then we train them to serve as our community researchers, and they go back to their community to collect this data. So this approach, I find it very interesting because the research is not just about them, it is with them.
This focus on recruiting pastoralist women to support with research, or participatory action research, is pretty new. The team recruited more than 20 community researchers and volunteers and trained them to carry out interviews. Specifically, these pastoralist women were recruited by Fudeko to review the impacts of a previous training session, one in which women were trained in a range of money-making skills, from henna design to product making and baking, and to give them the support they needed to start their own businesses. Here's someone involved in the project to explain.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Da farko dai sunana Muhammad Habib Hussaini.
My name is Mohammed Habib Hussein. I am the chairman of Fudeko Nasarawa State's chapter. We trained 250 pastoral women on several skills, and most of them continue to practice the skills, and they benefited a lot. After the Empowerment Project exercise, we organized a launching program and issued certificates to the graduates in 2021 at the Nasarawa State University campus in Kefi, and also provided them with startup funds to continue with their skills because women do not get financial support. The training is on income generation skills like hair making, donut and cake making, because Fulani women are widely known for selling milk and yogurts. So we modernized how they can package and sell their yogurts. Also, poultry making, shoe and bag making.
Liquid soap, da sauransu abubuwan skills suna da yawa.
Several years later, the newly trained Fudeko researchers came back to these places to ask women what happened next. As Umaira Hassan Suleiman explains.
There was a training on research by Dr. Rukayatu. I never knew anything about research, that someone goes and interviews people and transcribes. She taught us how to do this research. I was a community researcher. We went to Maya Inni, we went to Garandia and another community. We interviewed them, then sent them to our leaders. The research was in several sections. First, their livelihood, their inclusion in society, things like that. The second is regarding whether the women have a source of income, can vote, who they take their problems to, and how they are included.
They found that a number of Fulani women had experienced a real benefit from the training.
My name is Hafsat Mohammed Sani. They trained us on so many things, but I was interested in makeup and henna. As for the makeup, I'm not really doing it for money, but I'm also invited to weddings, other celebrations to do henna and get paid. I support my relatives and friends. For example, whenever there's an event, my family and friends do not have to hire for henna and makeup. I support them with the services.
And Bello Basma Usman.
What I am doing now is that I have opened a shop where I sell various items. I have benefited from the support very well. I bought a goat to rear. It has produced a kid. I I support my parents. For example, I buy clothes for my mother and she is very happy. I've been helping my children and family with my income, and they are much happier. I support my husband in household shopping. When my children are going to school, I buy small things for them like biscuits, and they are very happy.
And Jamila Mohammed Bello.
When Fudeko trained us, they gave me a certificate on startup capital. Startup capital is what I have been trading with, and it helped a lot. I sell porridge, peanuts, donuts, cakes, zobo. The money has really helped, and I have really benefited. At the pleasure of Allah, I have had a lot of success. I have independence. My startup capital has increased to 100,000 naira. I pay school fees for my 4 children. So I am really successful.
This economic boost was also shared by the pastoralist women who were trained as researchers. Here's Fatima Idris.
They trained us on how to carry out research. We went to our communities, we asked them about their lives and livelihoods. The training improved my knowledge. I didn't know about research before the training. They paid us. I used the money to buy a phone. I helped my husband to pay school fees for our children. We stay in a rural area. All our community use my phone now.
Now, while buying a mobile phone may not sound like a big deal, for people like Fatima and her community, it's life-changing. One of the key findings from the researchers' work was that pastoralists seldom use radio, TV, or mobile phones, and for women, these numbers were even lower. In one of the research locations, only 4 men and no women owned a mobile phone. Owning a phone means access to news and information. It means being able to receive online payments and check market prices rather than walking into the city to get paid for the milk you've sold. So something as small as Fatima's mobile phone can be truly revolutionary. But as well as making an income, something even more extraordinary came out of this training. Bringing community researchers on board wasn't just giving them an income, it was also building women's skills and confidence.
Something beautiful happened during our research.
Here's Rukayatu again.
Women that usually don't talk much, they find out that I come with community researchers. Amongst them, there are men. But I am the lead researcher. I do the introduction and they introduce me to say this is the lead and what have you. Like they find it inspiring. This will bring them to imagine new possibilities for themselves. And that's the kind of empowerment no program can buy.
One clear example of this shift is women's responses when they were asked about education. In Fulani pastoralist societies, education is often seen as incompatible with pastoralist cultures and traditions, particularly for girls. But many of the women who were trained afterwards experienced a higher standing within their communities. Let's start with Saadatu Usman Modibo.
The rural pastoralists Fulbe were not interested in Western education. They didn't see the benefit of education. But now their awareness has been raised. They see how education has given people better lifestyles. They see educated people have houses, cars, etc. They now send their children to school to help their children and themselves.
And here's Fatima Idris.
Previously, girls never went to school and were married off as soon as they reached puberty. But today, both girls and boys are enrolled in school.
And Umaira Hassan Suleiman.
For example, because they don't know their rights, because when you go to hospital, the women pastoralists are discriminated against. I want women trained to know their rights so that they can stand and regain their freedom. Our children should be educated and be trained on careers. Fulbe pastoralists' children to become engineers, doctors, pilots and others. Everyone should stand up and do things for themselves. A woman should not wait to be given. For your dignity, you need a source of income to help yourself, help your husband, your children and family.
Beyond the immediate benefits of learning new skills and generating an income, this training has led to a different kind of empowerment for the pastoralist women, an expanded vision of themselves as valuable and active community members. An increasing number of women are now involved in community dialogues and decision-making forums, and women who'd previously said they couldn't speak in public are now actively taking part in FUDECO workshops. For many women, the real impact of this training goes beyond starting a business or supporting a family. It's about having the tools and the voice to face any disruption that comes their way. Rukayatu sums it up perfectly. So let's leave the last word to her.
The change we are seeing is tangible. A lot of the women are already running their small businesses. Others are managing their cooperative funds. Many are enrolling their daughters in school. So we have seen women start to speak in community meetings, join advocacy efforts, and even mentor other women. Actually, that helps women to cope with shocks, because this is where the empowerment becomes resilience. Conflicts, flood, economic hardship, violence, domestic violence, pandemic disruptions. Women have now gotten the skills, the network, and the sense of, this is what I want to do. Because a lot of the time, when there are shocks, the government and a lot of other agencies focus more on the people that are known within the community, whereas the pastoralist people are hardly reached. And more than anything, women now know how to organize, how to ask questions, how to speak, and find alternatives when there are crises. We are not just helping them to survive the shocks, we are helping them to become strong enough to face the next one and the one after that. We don't pray for it, but we prepare them to face the shocks.
Rukayatu encapsulates how small interventions, co-designed with and developed through local people, can create powerful and long-lasting change because the approach itself is empowering.
And that's the kind of empowerment no program can buy.
Many thanks to Rukayatu, the FUDECO team, and all of the women who shared their experiences with us. I'm Bola Mosuro, and you've been listening to Dynamic Drylands, a special series from SPARC. We have an accompanying mini-series from a host of expert researchers who've shared the key lessons they've learnt from the 6 years of the SPARC project. We've left a link in the show notes if you'd like to find out more. Dynamic Drylands is produced by the Research to Action programme SPARC, Supporting Pastoralism and Agriculture in Recurrent and Protracted Crises. This work was carried out with the aid of a grant from the International Development Research Centre, Ottawa, Canada. Thank you to everyone who contributed to this series. For more information about the issues discussed in this podcast, visit the links in the show notes. Many thanks for listening.